Doctors change lives every day, but what happens when life changes yours? A single injury, a sudden illness. Your career, your income, your future can shift in an instant. The best physicians don't just plan for success, they protect it. At Set for Life Insurance, they believe financial security isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. True own occupation disability insurance ensures that no matter what happens, your future stays in your hands. Because protecting your income means protecting everything you've built. Visit drpodcastnetwork.co/set4life today. Secure your future before life makes the choice for you. We are no longer physicians, we're providers.
Ask your baby's permission.
Gay people, you have become a product. Should auto insurance cover STD? Are you freaking kidding me? So you demean us. You don't get a parade for a sexual preference. To not hurt the feelings of somebody with a fraction of my training. That a beaver's ass presented this to the world. It's a natural flavor. But you are literally an ice cube in a martini shaker. Yes. So you could call it an upgrade, or I don't know, maybe the opposite. But Dr. Tim Hindmarsh back with Doc Tales. A little early. I'm still drinking coffee because I slept in this morning, and I have the awesome privilege of having my very good friend Ben Rall, who is an outstanding chiropractor in the happiest city in the world of Orlando, until you drive on the I-4, and then it is the most unhappy place on earth. But Ben, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about some interesting and crazy things in the chiropractic world, and then we're going to preview a little bit of something Ben and I are going to do together that's going to be amazing. So welcome.
Hey man, yeah, it's awesome to be here. You make me laugh. I was watching that promo and I thought, I wonder if I should just log off before I get in trouble, because I tend to. This is right up my alley. Conversations like this. So, yeah, and I think we should also sue Orlando. I think that is false advertisement. I don't think you can say it's the magical happiest place on earth. Like, they should at least qualify that by getting there will make you get divorced and, hurt your family.
Well, yeah. So I saw a guy at work. He comes in, super cool guy, right? And he goes, I was just on a cruise and I got sick, because that's what happens when you go on a cruise is you're crammed in with a bunch of people and you get a respiratory illness or, God forbid, norovirus. And then anyway, so he comes in and he says it was a Disney cruise. I said, oh, how was that? He goes, it was awful. It was the worst thing in the world. He said they took all of the stuff you hate about Disney and crammed it into the size of a ship. So now you're standing in line for 45 minutes to get an autograph from some princess that your daughter has to get the autograph of, but you're at sea and you're crammed in even less space than, the Magic Kingdom. And I was like, wow, that sounds like you'd need to have the ultimate drink ticket package to survive that.
When we first moved to Florida, Doc, we moved to a place called Celebration, which some people know about. It was kind of billed as this like perfect town, this contrived city. And I didn't know anything about it. I just lived there because it was close to where I was working. And one of the guys I would work out with, he was the first, sounds a little odd, but he was the marketing director for Celebration. And he told me this story where he would be out to dinner or something, and people would come up to him, and the spouse and this person, and would say, hey, we moved here. You said this town was perfect and our marriage still sucks. And literally people, this is the stuff that drives you crazy. Cause I'm not even saying this to be funny. There's people out there that think that, what's the old saying? Wherever you go, there you are. Remember that old story? The guy that he's going to move out of this town. He stops at this gas station and he's heading to this new town. And he says to the guy working there, he's like, hey, where are you going? He's like, well, I'm heading over to this town. I'm moving away. He goes, what's the town like? And he goes, well, tell me where you're from. And he goes, oh man, this town sucked and the people were rude and the da-da-da-da. He goes, yeah, that's kind of what they're like there too, right? There's a reality, you move cross country, right? I mean, you can find your life anywhere, right? And wherever you go, there you are oftentimes. But
no, and I prefer it with more sunshine and less communism. That's what I found. And my neighbors are very pleasant. They're very, very pleasant. It is that's so far that's been good. There are obvious adjustments, but so speaking of adjustments, that's something that you do.
Nice.
And
Yes.
I am not in the happiest place on earth, but I am in the circus capital of North America, I would assume. So for
Yeah.
people that are unfamiliar, Sarasota was essentially built by the Ringling family. They wintered their circus animals, their performers. They all hung out here in the winter when they couldn't be driving around, or more correctly, on a train. What would that's not training around. That would be, I don't know, being on a train, going over to the northern states and putting on, big performances. So they had to like house the elephants and whatnot down here in Sarasota. One of the big causeways they built to one of the barrier islands, they actually used Ringling elephants to tow the beams for the causeway across the Sarasota Bay. So it's a circus town, believe it or not. So you have a story you told me before, which I couldn't believe, but that they had a chiropractic adjustment of an elephant or something. Is that true?
Well, yeah. So for my chiropractic brothers and sisters out there that will watch this, right, it is kind of funny. And for those of people that are watching this that are not fans of chiropractic, this will be a perfect story to validate every reason you think we're crazy, right? What the story that I'm about to tell you. And of course, or like you probably know, there's a famous residence down there, BJ Palmer's house, his beach house. BJ Palmer was the son of the founder of chiropractic, D.D. Palmer being the discoverer, they say, and then BJ was his son. So we're talking early 1900s here. So
Palmer Ranch is essentially the son of the father of chiropractic, is where, because that's a
I would imagine so. Yeah, I would have to say yes. I don't know for sure that answer, but that would make sense. Yeah.
Okay.
So BJ had a real love for the circus. There's like hilarious pictures because, and they're, those old black and white pictures that look crazy anyways, but there'll be these pictures of him adjusting, circus characters, bearded ladies, monkeys. I mean, it gets a little wild, and he just loved the circus. As a matter of fact, the BJ, the clinic, the Palmer School had a deal where any chiropractor around the world, if they took care of, if the circus was in town and they took care of the performers, or I guess animals, you could just send the bill to the Palmer School and they would pay the bill. So all circus people got free care. Well, as the story goes, you asked about this elephant story. So I was trying to find it. I have it in one of my books, the old kind of chiropractic history books. But there was this elephant that was sick. This wouldn't do what elephants do, I guess, in circus. So they asked BJ Palmer to come over and adjust it. So I even think I have a picture of this. I know. So literally the picture shows, or the description, I don't remember if I read it or saw it. And he takes like a 2x4 and kind of lays it up by the skull. And then like a mallet, like a maul, like a little handheld kind of mallet, I guess. And I'm not exactly sure how he discovered where to adjust the elephant at. So as the story goes, this elephant's really lethargic, won't perform. BJ takes this mallet and this 2x4, adjusts him, right? And the elephant does amazing. Full throttle elephantitis, okay, right? Doing what elephants do. And so I guess life was good for a season. I don't remember how long, a week or a month. Well, it turns out elephant gets sick again. So they call BJ up and he comes back and delivers the adjustment. And as the story goes, the elephant did not survive the second adjustment. I don't know what the moral to the story is, Doc. I don't know if this is, if something can be beneficial, it can, if something can hurt, it can, if something can help, it can also hurt, I guess, depending on the application. But for those of you with elephants out there, just make sure you are careful when it's getting adjusted by a 2x4 and a mallet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think that would be kind of common sense, but you never. They are very big though. So we did a story. We actually had video oh man, this must be 2 years ago now, of a guy that was adjusting giraffes.
Yeah.
So there was
Crazy.
like a giraffe, and it had this weird like torticollis, or wry neck.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so he had, I don't know, in the barn or whatever, there was a second level, and he just went up there, and its head is over it, and he just grabs it and like yards on it, and apparently it got better. I mean, it was able to, because it had a hard time eating because couldn't move his head properly.
Yeah, I mean, all joking aside, it is funny, but we just often forget. I mean, obviously they have spines, they're not humans, but they have nerve systems that run through the spine. So logic would suggest that it can get, stuck, misaligned, things like that. And if you can move it, I do not love doing animal adjustments. I've seen some crazy things. I'll tell you this. When I was in school, they brought an animal. There's, chiropractic animal doctors and stuff. A lot of vets do it, or, holistic vets do it. But there was a cat that basically would have had what you would call, they described it as like MS for a cat. It couldn't walk. It would just kind of lay down, and then they would bring the cat in, and they adjusted the cat with like using an instrument, and then the cat, I watched it happen. Jumped up, walked around our little room that we had for maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, and that would start to fade again, and it would not be able to walk. One of the craziest kind of miracles I've ever had happen, Doc, was this was not that long ago. I had a patient, sweet lady, and her dog's back legs were, you would say paralyzed, couldn't walk. He would pull himself on his front legs. She would like wrap his legs up in like socks, basically. So he would drag his legs around, and and she didn't know what to do. She went to the vet. The vet was like, needs a surgery, $9,000. She just didn't have that kind of situation. So she was a patient, and I'd only do that for patients. And she brought him in, and she's like, can you help him? I said, listen, I don't know. I'll take a look at him. So I adjusted him once, nothing happened. And then she brought him back the next week, and I adjusted him. Doc, I kid you not, that little dog started running around the office. And so as crazy as that, this is either reinforcing every crazy thing people think about chiropractors, or this is people are going to enjoy this. I don't know which. Hey, did you set me up? Is this a setup?
No,
I know
not at all.
But I am setting myself up.
All.
You're just letting me talk. Just keep going. Just keep talking.
So did you X-ray it? Like, was there anything that you could see that was different? Like, or
yeah.
Is it just...
Well, with animals, with adult humans, certainly that's a big part of what we do. Animals is a little more complicated for me, just not being my area of expertise, meaning I don't have, the best full analysis. So there's some, in my world, when you're adjusting an animal, it's really just pain, Doc. Like, you're palpating, okay? And you're watching, they'll let you know kind of that's not a comfortable spot, right? And so okay. I don't have, like you saw that guy probably do a manual giraffe adjustment. Horses, you'll see that. That's pretty spectacular. I don't know. That's a talent. I use an instrument, so it's a very safe. Like I'm gonna put a force in there. If that animal is able to receive that force, then I'm very light with it, and it's kind of like we'll see how the animal responds. So I'm going. It's a pretty low level analysis in that, right? Find point of pain, see if that joint's not moving, get that joint moving, see what effect that has on that animal. Obviously, with human patients, we got to get a little bit more specific. But yeah, so that's what we did. And in that case, or like a stuck joint, like if a hip's not moving on a dog, or you can just sometimes feel. So it's not overly complicated. Certain cases get a little more complicated. Those are ones I just refer out. But simple stuff. Well, paralyzed legs was not that simple. It was just kind of like seeing what would happen. And the funny thing was, this lady went back. She was just really excited. I was like, don't do this. She's like, I'm going to go back. She went back to her vet, and she's like, see, he didn't need this surgery. He just needed it. I was like, how did that go? I'm sure he was thrilled to hear that story.
America spends more on healthcare than any other country, yet we rank 48th in life expectancy. We spend trillions, but 200,000 insured people still declare medical bankruptcy every year. Clearly, the system is broken. But what if there was a way to take back control, to break free from inflated costs and red tape? That's exactly why Crowd Health was created, a smarter, more transparent way to pay for healthcare. No middleman, no bureaucracy. Just a community of people helping each other when it matters most. Join the revolution. Go to joincrowdhealth.com and use promo code BSFree for a discount on your first 3 months, because your health should be in your hands, not theirs. So did you know if there was any other testing? Because like I think of it from human medicine, if you're paralyzed, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd have an MRI, you'd have nerve.
That's what she had
studies.
done. So so to your point, she had an MRI of the dog, and then the recommendation was this $9,000 surgery. I have to assume, Doc, it was some sort of either lesion in that spinal cord, either a I don't know, a disc or I don't know, something enough, where he could not function. But it happened very fast. Like the dog was fine, and then like over the course of a week, didn't walk. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird. We had a cat with a We had a cat with a cervical disc, because cats get cervical discs apparently frequently.
Huh.
So he would.
What did you do? What do you do?
He lived outside. So eventually he was eaten by a bobcat or cougar, because we were living in Oregon. Cats would just sort of disappear when they lived out, because we lived out in the country. So you had to have, outdoor cats to control the mice. And they would just kind of, do the Eskimo thing and get on an ice floe and just never show up again. We found one though, and it was running away, and its whole back was skinned because a big cat had got it. And that was unpleasant for my daughter to witness, because they found one of the cats. But that cat was a jerk, actually. It sort of deserved it, because I figure in the cat world, you have about a 10% chance of getting a good cat. And if you get a good house cat, like those are like gold. But you got about a 90% chance it's going to be kind of obnoxious and I think that's where they get the bad name.
Have you ever said dumb things to a patient?
Like which day?
I look back. So here's one of the dumbest ones I did early on in practice. So for those people that are cat lovers, I apologize for what I'm about to say. But if I'm not safe to talk like this on any other show, it would be this one. So I was early in practice, Doc. I don't know what I was thinking. This lady comes in, tells me about something about her cat. And I decided to say to this woman, the only good cat is a dead cat. That was my opening. That was the way I thought I would develop rapport with her. So later that night, I get home and I have a nice email from this lady letting me know exactly what she thinks about me, and that she would no longer be participating as a patient in my office due to my views on cats. And so top that one.
Yeah, it's like they had a Saturday Night Live, the weekend update, and this was years ago, probably 25 years ago, and they had just done the first total joint replacement, a hip replacement on a cat. Okay.
Oh, this is real, or this is the joke?
Yeah, they said it was $25,000, or exactly $25,000 more than complete cat replacement. And I was like, that's exactly right. Like we just inherit, like we lived out in the country, right? So we had outdoor cats, and we just leave cat food outside, and we just got more cats. They just like joined the party. The one cat that we had, we found him in a tree. He climbed a tree, couldn't get down. I rescued him, and then he was our cat. And until I actually had to euthanize him in the back yard, because he got some facial cancer, and they wanted too much money just to put down a cat. So I Christy gnomed him.
I was just gonna say, that's my governor. That's South Dakota, man. Whew, yeah, that was a good one.
That's rough. But I mean, it was good for him ultimately.
Oh, what else, Doc?
So let's talk about what we're going to be doing. So Ben has an amazing podcast called Designed to Heal, and I have this show as well as BS Free MD, where we do interviews, and we thought it would be really interesting if we combined our different training and experience and points of view, and really getting down to the point of view thing. I wrote in one of my Substacks that, if you start with bad philosophy, you end with really terrible medicine. And so kind of exploring the different ways we think about healthcare from an allopathic perspective and from a chiropractic or more holistic perspective. So we're going to do some shows called MDDC, a little play on words there for all of the Gen Xers that like AC/DC. And I'd like to
I'm already
say,
thinking about the theme music here, Doc.
I'm thinking of the theme music, and maybe Brian Johnson lives in Sarasota. Maybe I should ask him if we could use
For real?
Highway to Hell and change it to Highway to Health. I think that would be amazing.
Come on.
Yeah, he donated. He donated. I don't know. I think it was like $1 million or something. And there is at Sarasota Memorial Hospital at the main campus. There is the Brian Johnson Music Therapy Pediatric Room. So I'm sitting there thinking about.
I'm thinking that it should be like cervical whiplash from headbanging.
Yeah. No, but you think of that, okay? So it's the Brian Johnson Pediatric Music Therapy Room, right? And then do you understand the lyrics of virtually every AC/DC song? Like they're all hyper sexualized. And so I'm trying to think, she was a fast machine. She kept her explaining that to a child that's getting music therapy at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. I don't think they have the lyrics written out all around, on the walls,
When my son is really into music, and he had a AC/DC season, and it's like when your kids are growing up and you're like, let's watch that movie. That was a good movie. And then you sit down to watch it, and they're 8 and you're like, oh, I forgot about that part. And so songs, like some of the AC/DC, I mean, obviously rock and roll, but I hadn't paid as much attention to some of those songs. We had to have some discussions.
Well, no, but then it's what's so hilarious to me, because I'm into all of this stuff. So then you listen to Iron Maiden. And so, Iron Maiden has Eddie, which is this zombie creature and all this kind of stuff, right? And then you listen to their lyrics and they're like, oh, they're singing about the Crimean War. Oh, they're singing about the Battle of Passion, the Battle of the Somme, the longest battle, the most ruthless, longest battle in World War I. It's like all history. And even when you listen to Number of the Beast, it's essentially a biblical tale. But everyone's like, oh, that's satanic. And I'm like, Florence Nightingale, the Crimean War? No, I don't think that's satanic at all. I think it's just history. So
or like, you too. I mean, some great songs out there that are all, obviously, even many of them pulled right from scripture. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about doing this with you, Doc, too. And we love your podcast and love having you guys, getting to know you guys and having you at seminars and hanging out. I think it's there's not a lot of people I would want to do a show like that with, right? And not out of hostility, just like I don't think it would be productive, right? It's going to be like, what are we doing, right? We just sitting here pissing at each other and adding fuel. No, like I think that I don't know, give myself more credit than I should. I just think that we actually want this conversation to be meaningful to people, right? That are trying to navigate healthcare. And you've had your journey, I've had my journey. And so I'm really excited because I think patients ask these questions all the time, the questions that we're going to hopefully be talking about, right? And it'll probably get a little spicy, right? I'm sure we'll get at it a little bit and agree to disagree on certain things. That's okay. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, well, I just actually, it came out last night. I just wrote a Substack and I called it Tension. And I used the examples of, skydive rigs, parachutes fly under tension. If they don't have tension, they can't inflate. If the lines aren't tense, you don't have a wing. Or like kiteboarding, it's the tension of the lines that gives you control. And actually, the harder that kiteboard and that kite try to separate away from themselves, the faster they go. Actually, the more tension they're under, the faster they are. And I think that this is a really powerful concept, is that we need to be getting into the same room with people that we're connected to, whether it's connected through faith, through work, through, just being neighbors and buddies, and actually being willing to debate life, like to ask hard questions, because that tension is what moves us forward. And, the problem is you have to disagree and still be connected. And I think what we're living in now, the body politic of, most Western nations is complete disconnection. It's, you disagree with somebody and you're a communist or a Nazi or a, child molester or a baby killer or, put whatever term you want, where I think most of us actually believe more than we agree more than we disagree in a lot of respects. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think, maybe even the listeners that are watching this today, or as we get started on it, if there is maybe a topic or something you want us to go at, let us know. Maybe throw out some prompts that are issues you want us to discuss. That might be fun too. We were joking offline there before, right? You said, I said, is chiropractic and allopathic, right? Chiropractic MDDC, is that an oxymoron? And you said you prescribe the oxy or morons. I thought that was pretty good. Well, I included you in the moron group. Sorry, Doc.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was supposed to own that one.
No, I'm fine to do that. But I think I also want to deep dive into kind of not just the origins of our professions, but the importance of what philosophy drives it, because it's never really talked about. What is the philosophy that drives, especially modern healthcare now? I mean, this error of just because we can do orthopedic surgery means we can fix everybody with pills for the rest of their life. That part just makes me crazy. But yet there's stuff that we do in modern. I mean, I'm glad I live in the United States. If I fall off my bicycle or get run over again, I have access to the best orthopedic surgeons in the world. Would I want to take Ozempic for the rest of my life? Probably not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think there's just some things that have happened. Things move fast. I think you even asking the question, and I know we gotta jump, but even asking, I don't think people have even ever considered that there is a philosophy of medicine, right? Like it's almost, quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. And if we've just made this assumption that, I don't know, because I think people believe erroneously that science doesn't have philosophy, when really science starts with philosophy. That's the questions. Philosophy creates the questions that science tries to answer. And so, but if we don't ask some of those questions, what is the philosophy? Chiropractic has always been known in our world. We call it the science and the art, of the science art of chiropractic, right? The philosophy, science, and the arts, all of those things together. I think medicine could say the same thing. You might just not articulate that, but in our profession, that's a fairly common conversation because we do have a philosophy. Matter of fact, we probably lean a lot on that as chiropractors because it's different than what a lot of people think that have been raised in the traditional healthcare. Yeah, I'm excited to have those conversations, Doc.
All right. Well, we got to leave it at that, which is
okay.
Great, and that'll be a good taste. I'm getting revved up. We're actually going to be in the studio together, so there may need to be like a referee. Who's that guy? The guy that does the UFC. The difference is, I'm 5'5", 5'6" on a good day, and Ben was a former Olympic boxer, so it's not going to be a fair fight.
Well, I can already, man, it's so dangerous when we get together. But like, I could just see. You remember that, like the cartoons when the guy's trying to hit him and then just puts a hand on the head. You're swinging but you can't quite reach me. If it comes to that, it'll be a great episode, right? Like MDDC battle, fight it out. But since we're going to be at my studio, I think I have ultimate editing authority.
Yeah, I think that's how that's going to work. So,
hey, Doc, I love you, man. Good to see you.
All right. See you soon. See you next week.